mobilizing G20 private investment for sustainable. Since its inception, the CWA has supported participating countries in implementing ambitious reforms, mobilizing investment, and strengthening dialogue between private investors and international partners. It has demonstrated pursued wide-ranging mobilization, strengthen public financial to private partnership. This initiative would not be a success without the continued collaboration of our co-chair, the Federal Republic of Germany. I would also like to acknowledge our valued partners, the International Monetary Fund, the African Development Bank, the World Bank Group, and the African Center for Economic Transformation for their continued support. Lastly, it is important that I give recognition to the Compact countries in reforming their economies and ensuring that investment flows into Africa. We welcome the interest expressed by Angola to join the CWA. We trust that the process for joining the CWA will be speedily finalized. We look forward to a wonderful discussion and engagement. I'll now hand over to the German State Secretary at the Ministry of Finance to make her opening remarks.
Thank you, Minister. I would now like to welcome the German State Secretary to make her opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Excellencies Minister, the Minister Godongwana. It's a privilege for me to address you today. Allow me first to pay tribute to the African Union, whose role as a cornerstone of peace, unity, and progress on the African continent cannot be overstated. We welcome that the African Union is now a permanent member of the G20. This is a historic step that enhances the inclusiveness and global legitimacy of the forum, and it ensures that Africa's voice is heard as we shape our common future. Germany recognizes that global economic governance can only be effective if there is a fair representation and has thus, for instance, actively supported efforts to strengthen Africa's voice within the International Monetary Fund. I want to underline that our partnership with Africa is of key importance. It is based on shared interests, mutual respect, and it reflects the fact that our prosperity and security are closely linked. Strengthening this partnership is a central element of our engagement. The Compact with Africa is a concrete example of how we can work together to foster investment, growth, and sustainable development. The Compact is not the initiative of a single actor, but a joint effort. Its success depends on the commitment of African partner countries to a reform agenda, the support of the G20 members, and the expertise of key international institutions such as the World Bank, the IMF, and the African Development Bank. Equally important is the engagement of the private sector, which plays a central role in taking advantage of improved investment conditions, creating jobs, and promoting sustainable growth. The Compact currently includes 14 members, with Zambia having joined earlier this year. And I want to emphasize that the Compact is not limited to the current members. It is open to all African countries willing to pursue a reform agenda with the support of the World Bank and others, thereby creating the doing business conditions needed to attract more private investors. I would like to express my sincere thanks to the South African G20 presidency, which has made the Compact a key priority and helped the initiative regain momentum. Our shared goal for the Compact is it to be more than just a label for good investment conditions. This is why we think it is important to revive Compact country teams. These teams will deliver tangible results on the ground. They will provide direct technical support, draw on the World Bank's extensive experience, and help to organize business delegations to bring investment projects to life. To get these country teams up and running, financial resources are essential. The World Bank has established a multi-donor trust fund to finance them, and Germany has made an initial contribution of 10 million euros. Looking ahead, we will work together with our G20 partners to secure funding. The World Bank is undertaking similar efforts, and together we aim to guarantee that the Compact country teams can make a real impact in African countries. Before concluding, allow me to underline the importance of the work carried out by the African Union and the South African G20 presidency on key issues as to emphasize the need to improve African countries' access to capital markets by improving institutions and infrastructure and addressing macro vulnerabilities. Another flagship initiative is the African Continental Free Trade Area, which serves as a major driver of economic integration. Together with our European partners, Germany is actively supporting the African Continental Free Trade Area with financial and technical support. In conclusion, the G20 Compact with Africa is building on our strong partnership to foster sustainable growth, encourage private sector engagement, and advance regional development. So, let's seize all available opportunities and strengthen our cooperation. Thank you again for this occasion today.
Thank you, State Secretary. I now invite the African Union Commissioner for Africa for Economic Development, Trade, Tourism, Industry and Minerals to take the floor.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure for me being here today as the shepherd for the African Union in the G20 and Commissioner on eating. Dear co-chairs of the African Advisory Group, honorable ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. It is indeed an immense pleasure to take part in this important outreach event of the G20 Compact with Africa. I want to thank the government of South Africa and Germany as the co-chairs of the G20 Compact African Advisory Group for organizing this important outreach event on the theme Strengthening the G20 Partnership with Africa, and for inviting the African Union Commission to deliver their opening remarks. The outreach event on the Compact with Africa takes place at the right time. First, work underway for the design of the implementation strategy document for the G20 Compact with Africa 2.0, building on the lessons and experience gathered during Compact with Africa 1.0. Secondly, the G20 review, which is one of the main deliverables of the South African G20 presidency, is also taking place. There's my apologies. Yes. These two elements of the current context provide solid background to reflect collectivity on the achievements of Compact with Africa 1.0, the lessons learned and the best course of actions going forward. I therefore once again congratulate both South Africa and Germany for this initiative. Honorable ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have three key messages I would like to focus on during my intervention. The first one is this. By inviting non-compact countries, the co-chairs are sending a clear positive message that although the compact with Africa is country demand driven, it is not an exclusive club. Rather, it is an inclusive initiative that aims to bring together all reformed-oriented African countries. This is particularly important for us as the African Union. In effect, reforms are indeed across Africa to attract large-scale investments for infrastructure projects that are critical for the realization of objectives of inclusive economic growth and sustainable development, and to transition Africa into an emerging continent. As we all know, Africa's investments needs are massive. Therefore, the African Development Bank estimates African infrastructure's needs at around 130 to 170 billion US dollar per year. The second message is this: a closer look at the core objectives of the Compact with Africa, in particular, the objective of implementing macroeconomic reforms with a view to creating a favorable business environment to attract investments, show that they speak to the goals of key African Union agendas 2063 programs and strategies. One of these strategies is the strategic framework on key action to achieve inclusive growth and sustainable development, developed in collaboration with the African Development Bank and AUDA NEPAD, and adopted in February this year by African Union Head of State and Government. In effect, in the context of continuous decline of official development assistance, which will soon come to an end, the strategic framework identifies adopting and implementing proactive measures to establish a conducive, enabling macroeconomic environment to attack both African and foreign direct investment as an essential pillar of Africa's inclusive growth strategy. We therefore see avenues for synergies and strategic alignment between the Compact with Africa and the strategic framework of the African Union. Thank you. This objective of macroeconomic reform also resonates with our domestic resource mobilization strategy, as well as the work underway to operationalize African Virtual Investment Platform, launched early this year in collaboration with the OECD and the European Union. Similarly, the focus under the G20 Compact with Africa 2.0 on entrepreneurship and local economic development, including through value chains development, speaks to our ongoing work under the Accelerated Industrial Development for Africa Action Plan, as well as the African Union Small and Medium-Sized Entrepreneurial Strategy. Under AIDA, we aim to accelerate Africa's industrialization through the development of regional and continental value chains. In this respect, the African Union Commission inducted recently, in 2022, a study titled Made by Africa, Creating Value Through Integration, which identified 4 promising value chains: pharmaceutical, baby food, cotton clothing, and cars, with the potential to increase inter-regional trade in Africa, reduce imports, diversify economies, and create jobs for both women, and youth. As we all can see, the focus on value chain development will help us realize not only the objectives of Compact with Africa, but also those of the African Union Strategic Development Plan 2063. Furthermore, enhancing entrepreneurship and local economic development, including both value chains development as one of the focus areas under Compact with Africa 20.0, will contribute to the effective operationalization of the African Continental Free Trade Area by supplying the market with high-quality African-made products manufactured by African companies. Honorable ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my third and final message is this: the African Union has been participating in and contributing to all meetings of the African Advisory Group on the G20 Compact with Africa since becoming a permanent G20 member. We shall continue to do so. We are committed to contribute to the design and implementation of the G20 Compact 2.0 to strengthen the alignment and synergies with African Union Agenda 2063 and its key strategies and programs. We see the G20 Compact with Africa as a framework umbrella of the G20 partnerships with Africa, under which other G20 initiatives towards Africa should fall. This is because the G20 Compact with Africa has a solid and permanent mechanism that can help ensure follow-up and continuity from the G20 presidency to the next. Let us seize the opportunity provided by the design of Compact 2.0, as well as the review of G20 at 20, to devise a robust program that truly strengthens the G20 partnership with Africa, resulting in win-win outcomes for African Compact members and G20 partners, and contributing to the realization of the aspirations of the Agenda 2063 of the African Union. Their share, South Africa, actual share of the G20, those our remarks of gratitude for this initiative in which we are fully embarked, supporting it and participating and ensuring that our country members could also be integrated to make sure that we fully beneficiate from it. Thank you very much for inviting us.
Thank you, Your Excellencies, for setting the scene for what is to come on the Compact with Africa initiative this morning. Without further delay, we will now move into the next session on the genesis of the Compact. We will also reflect on the achievements of the initiative and explore how the initiative can evolve to support broader African priorities. International organizations play a critical role in advancing the vision of the Compact. They help ensure that the initiative remains accessible to potential new members, provide coordinated support for country-specific reforms, and offer targeted technical assistance to existing Compact countries. Their continued engagement is essential to sustaining the momentum of the Compact and delivering meaningful results on the ground. During the session, we will hear from the Compact partners who will provide us with an overview of the initiative, including its origins, key achievements to date, and the ways in which they continue to support the Compact initiative. I will now invite the World Bank Group to kick us off with their presentation. Over to the World Bank. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, distinguished minister, colleagues, it is an honor to join you today for this important discussion on the Compact with Africa. First of all, on behalf of the World Bank Group, I would like to thank the co-chairs, Minister Gondwana, State Secretary Schwamberger, and Commissioner Tachop Belobe for their leadership in convening this gathering. This discussion is a timely opportunity to further strengthen the Compact. With the G20 leadership of South Africa and its strong focus on delivering for Africa, Germany's continued leadership and commitment to the Compact, and the African Union now being a G20 permanent member. Now, the Compact with Africa is a platform dedicated to mobilizing private investment in Africa. At its heart, the Compact provides a simple but powerful continuum. It starts with reforms that create a business-friendly environment. Then it leads to mobilizing private capital, private investment, and results in direct connection between African businesses and its investors. But the ambition is driven by African governments themselves. The World Bank Group and other partners bring in advisory services, financing, and operational tools. So the Compact is a true collective effort. Now, since its launch in 2017, the Compact has already delivered concrete results across 13 African countries. Please allow me to highlight a few. In Tunisia, support through the Compact helped modernize custom systems and commercial courts, making trade faster and more predictable. In Ethiopia, it contributed to the rollout of a national e-tax platform, which is improving compliance and broadening revenues. In Morocco, the Compact supported reforms to strengthen the competition law, opening opportunities and markets for firms and customers alike. In Egypt, the Compact helped unlock renewable energy projects worth over $1 billion, expanding energy for the future. In Côte d'Ivoire, advisory support drove a 236% increase in sales among tourism firms, showing how targeted intervention can unleash growth. Now, taken together, these are not isolated stories. They add up. The Compact supported governments in Africa to implement over 100 reforms since 2017, and their efforts have led to important results. More than 13 million people benefited from better services. Over 1,600 firms have received direct support, and millions in private capital have been mobilized. Now we're ready to move to phase 2. Which will run from 2025 to 2033, with bigger ambition, stronger focus on outcomes, and broader reach. We're seeing a strong demand. Zambia joined the Compact early this year, and 4 other countries have already expressed interest in joining, including Angola. Member governments welcome the support they received so far and would like to see more. They're asking for continued support and stronger connection with private investors. Our ambitions for the new phase are threefold. First of all, to help better align the policy reforms with a financing solution and private sector engagement, so countries can get an integrated package that link reforms directly to investments. Number 2, strengthen collaboration with partners like the IMF, the African Development Bank, and ASET, who are here today, so that efforts
Oh, she's back.
World Bank, can you come back? Are you online?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know where you lost me. I didn't. I didn't realize I was disconnected. Should I start over again?
I think you were just explaining the interplay in relation to the reforms and then paving the way for the private sector to come in, and also then the collaboration between the World Bank, the IMF, and the African Development Bank with the partner compact countries.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, so that was the number 2 ambition, strengthen collaboration with partners like the IMF, African Development Bank, and ASET who are here today, so that efforts can be aligned and complementary. And then adopt an outcome-based approach is the 3rd ambition, ensuring that impact is measurable, systemic, and economy-wide. The agenda and its ambition, though, remains led by African governments. This next phase comes at a pivotal moment. Africa is set to play a defining role in the 21st century. By 2050, 1 in every 4 people on the planet will be African. The continent will have the world's largest and youngest, and each city will be among the fastest growing anywhere. With the right reforms and investment, Africa can harness this transformation to create millions of jobs, accelerate growth, and drive prosperity, not just for Africa, but for the global economy. Excellencies, colleagues, the Compact with Africa is more than a platform. It's a partnership. Phase 1 proved that reforms deliver results. Phase 2 is about building on that success with more ambition, stronger delivery, and broader reach. The World Bank Group is fully committed to working with all of you to seize this historic opportunity. Thank you for your attention and looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you very much for your overview. I would now like to give the floor to the African Development Bank to make their intervention. Thank you.
Honorable ministers, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and partners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Nenna Wabufu. I'm representing the African Development Bank Group. I'm the Vice President for Regional Integration, Regional Development Integration and Service Delivery. It is a distinct honor for the African Development Bank Group to participate in this important high-level event on the Compact with Africa. Since its inception in 2017 under Germany's G20 presidency and co-chaired by Germany and South Africa, the Compact has evolved into a vital platform for advancing Africa's economic transformation through private sector investment, structural reforms, and regional integration. The African Development Bank, alongside key partners such as the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and other institutions, play a central role in implementing the Compact by fostering private sector engagement and mobilizing investment financing. In addition, the bank supports Compact countries by providing policy advice, technical assistance, and identifying critical reforms and regional best practices aimed at reducing investment bottlenecks. In alignment with the Compact's priorities, the bank has committed over $14 billion in the past 5 years in support of Compact countries. We have also leveraged platforms such as the Africa Investment Forum, through which we have recorded investment interests in Compact countries in the last 3 to 4 years. The upcoming Africa Investment Forum that is scheduled from 26 to 28 November in Rabat, Morocco, will once again offer a critical opportunity for the bank and its partners to exchange ideas, share experiences, and advance our shared goals in the continent, which includes the Compact countries. At the African Development Bank Group, we have also established several strategic initiatives which are instrumental in achieving the objectives of the Compact, particularly in fostering youth and women entrepreneurship, and building a robust pipeline of investment-ready opportunities. For example, the Youth Enterprise Investment Bank Initiative, currently operating in 4 countries, 2 of which are in the Compact countries, namely Cote d'Ivoire and Ethiopia, with Tunisia currently under preparation. This initiative provides comprehensive support through business incubation, capacity building, mentorship, and facilitates linkages between entrepreneurs, buyers, and financial institutions. Completing these efforts, the Entrepreneurship Lab promotes innovation, skill development, and access to finance while addressing critical data gaps across the continent. In partnership with the European Investment Bank, the Boost Africa initiative tackles early-stage financing constraints, fostering an entrepreneurial ecosystem that creates quality employment and supports the scaling of competitive businesses regionally and globally. Additionally, the Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa initiative enhances women's access to finance through risk-sharing mechanisms, technical assistance, and policy dialogue, thereby creating an enabling environment for women entrepreneurs across the continent. Together, these initiatives, along with many others, position the African Development Bank Group as a key driver in realizing the ambitions of the Compact by promoting inclusive entrepreneurship, mobilizing private sector investments, and fostering sustainable economic growth in Compact countries. Private sector development remains a cornerstone of our newly approved 10-year strategy and a key priority of the new leadership in the bank. The bank will upscale efforts in supporting private sector investments across the continent. We would like to underscore the need for enhanced coordination among G20 partners, stronger ownership by Compact countries, and reinforced country-led platforms to ensure effective implementation of the Compact. Mobilizing concessional finance, fostering public-private dialogue, and strengthening accountability mechanisms will be essential to sustain the momentum and deliver transformative outcomes. We also call for further leverage of South Africa's G20 presidency and the African Union's new status as a permanent member of the G20 to strengthen the AU's role in the Compact with Africa, as this would enhance African ownership, support the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, and facilitate the exchange of best practices across the continent. We at the African Development Bank will endeavor to ensure closer alignment and engagement between the Compact with Africa and the bank's strategic objectives in order to fully leverage the Compact as a catalyst for Africa's sustainable development. In closing, we would like to emphasize that the Compact with Africa represents not only a unique partnership between Africa and the G20, but also a shared commitment to unlocking Africa's vast development potential for the benefit of the global economy. The African Development Bank Group stands ready to continue its leadership role in Africa and will continue to collaborate closely with all stakeholders to realize this vision of inclusive and sustainable growth across the continent. I thank you for your attention, and we look forward to the deliberations today.
Thank you to the African Development Bank. I now call on the IMF to make its presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, ministers, governors, excellencies, and colleagues. So thank you for the opportunity to speak at the to the African Union about the G20 Compact with Africa. So the IMF welcomes very much this initiative and supports the priority put by South Africa on the issue of mobilizing private investment for sustainable growth, which is in line with the Compact main initiative. The IMF has been supporting the Compact with Africa since it launched in 2017. We see it as an important role for the Compact to help countries implement sound macroeconomic policies and structural reforms to boost growth and job creation, and then enhance resilience to shocks, which are essential for development and prosperity. So the IMF contribute to this effort through country-specific policy advice, capacity development, and support to reform as part of a fund-supported program that we have with some of the countries. We also contribute through analytical and policy work. So the compact countries have shown strong resilience, actually outperforming other African countries despite successive shocks and challenges such as elevated public debt for some of them. So under our baseline forecast, growth in 2025 is projected at 5.9% for sub-Saharan African countries, compact countries, and 3.6% for Northern Africa compact countries. This compares to 3.4% in non-compact African countries, so clearly showing that compact countries are overperforming. In the medium term, compact countries are expected to grow by 5.3% above a pre-pandemic average, and this is compared to only 3.6% for non-compact African countries. Again, even in the medium term, we do see compact countries outperforming. So that said, these numbers are marked by elevated uncertainty and doubts and risks, which essentially reflect the situation at the global level. So as I said, the IMF also support compact countries through analytical work. So I would like just to highlight one of them. So a recent IMF paper published earlier this year attempts to quantify the impact of compact membership on foreign direct investment inflows. Foreign direct investment, or FDI, is known to have many benefits, including providing capital, facilitating technology transfer, strengthening global trade connection, and integrating local economies into international market, all of which tend to enhance productivity and create jobs. So this IMF paper shows that compact countries have experienced an increase in FDI flows, so foreign direct investment flows, during the period of the compact initiative. It also shows that compact countries tend to have stronger institutions, better infrastructure, and human capital, which are also among the key factors to help attract FDI to developing countries. So what this means is that continued effort of African government to implement structural reforms, strengthen institutions, improve infrastructure, and develop human capital are vital to create an attractive FDI environment, and the Compact initiative can help in this process. How can the Compact help? There are two main ways. First is through the coordination mechanism it generates to support countries in their reform effort. Second is through the peer exchange platform it provides for countries' authorities willing to implement strong reforms, as they can exchange directly on experiences by peers, share lessons on reform design and implementation. So in a nutshell, the Compact support the formulation of reform agenda by providing technical assistance, structured policy dialogue, and peer engagement, enabling participant countries to design and implement tailored investment-focused reform with international support. So what's the way ahead? So given elevated uncertainty in the global economy, there is an extra premium on building resilience through well-designed policies and implementing a business-friendly environment that will support domestic and foreign investment. At the IMF, we see value of the Compact with Africa to help achieve these objectives, and the IMF is committed to continue our support to the initiative. Let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the IMF. I would like now to hand over to the African Center for Economic Transformation to make its presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Honorable ministers, excellencies, colleagues, all protocols observed. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share some of the key lessons we have learned thus far in the Compact with Africa and some ideas for the way forward in Compact 2.0. My organization, the African Center for Economic Transformation, has played a key role in CWA since its inception in 2017. We are responsible for facilitating research-backed peer-to-peer learning, providing independent monitoring through our advisory panel, and bringing an African perspective to the unique challenges countries face in securing private investment. This role allows us to see successes, challenges across countries, and gives us a unique perspective that I am honored to share with you today. 3 things stand out as lessons learned from the first phase of the Compact with Africa, and I hope these can inform the way forward. First, the Compact is focused on countries who are interested in implementing country-led macro business and financial reforms to drive investment. CWA countries have worked, as said earlier, on over 100 reforms to improve the environment for private investments. Laws and regulations have benefited from support from CWA partners. Already, I think that the World Bank has stated some of the examples of results that have occurred. But let me also share a few others which have not been mentioned. These include the Company Act in Ghana, the Investment Code in Guinea, Senegal regulatory capacity to enforce phytosanitary and traceability requirements for exports, securities and money markets in Rwanda, and regulatory frameworks for renewable energy and monitoring platform for reforms in Tunisia, and much more. As you know, implementation support of the type that asset provides requires resources. With the support of G20 countries, the next phase of CWA 2.0 program would continue to provide targeted technical assistance to reform implementation led by our MDB partners, the World Bank, IFC, AFDB, IMF. G20 finance ministers at the meeting of ministers in South Africa this July highlighted their commitment to align G20 programs to country needs through the ongoing programs. However, we have learned that given the current financial landscape, we must not expect to rely only on these programs for implementation support. All parties, governments, and development partners must be committed to finding resources to support implementation together. Second, the CWA's original theory of change was that by implementing reforms, countries would attract private sector financing. We have found that while there has been some successes in this area, it has not been automatic for all countries. On the positive side, Germany's commitment included a substantial 1 billion euros allocated through the Development Investment Fund in 2018 to 2021, with 850 million earmarked for investments in Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, Morocco, Senegal, and Tunisia. Through donor financing, the IFC facilitated $132.3 million in financing through their trust fund for private sector in CWA countries. Despite these achievements, we need to increase direct private investment between other G20 countries, their private sector, and African governments. In CWA 2.0, we seek to course correct in response to what we have heard from stakeholders by increasing private engagements in the programs at all levels, by improving data availability and investment propositions, by leveraging regional investment approaches through the AFCFTA, and focusing on increasing domestic private capital and streamlining processes for investment. Thirdly, capacity building has been and will remain critically important. Member countries have benefited from over 25 peer-to-peer learning lessons on everything from climate finance to digitalization to infrastructure project finance. These are not just talk shops. there have been concrete outcomes. We have established working groups of investment promotion professionals and PPP professionals who have received training in infrastructure project development and financing. In Benin, for example, attendance at one peer learning event encouraged Benin to entrust PPP project responsibilities to local authorities and municipalities. The PPP law was updated to reflect this change. A blended finance case study and climate finance training helped Tunisia investment promotion teams with practical use cases that were specific to their context. We must use CWA 2.0 as a time to build on these learnings and develop them into concrete action plans and projects at the country level. This would involve building strong country teams and facilitating pilot projects, as well as better monitoring and assessments of how these learnings are translating into actions. CWA 2.0 would also include deeper bilateral learning opportunities between member countries to facilitate practical knowledge transfer, in addition to the larger training and peer learning events. Finally, as you are all aware, we are in one of the most challenging financial and political climates in recent history. This has brought cuts in development aid and shifts in global priorities, alongside rising and more risky debt in too many African countries. The CWA, if done right, can be a critical tool in these efforts to unlock economic transformation and make Africa into an investment destination that we know it is to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. That concludes the interventions from the Compact partners. Thank you all for your insightful interventions. Well, the Compact with Africa has made commendable progress and gained traction during its initial phase from 2017 to 2024. It is clear that much more remains to be done. The Compact places strong emphasis on structural reforms as a pathway to attract greater private sector investment. However, without adequate technical capacity and institutional support, these reforms may be poorly executed, delayed, and may fail to deliver the intended outcomes. It is therefore imperative that Compact countries continue to receive support from the dedicated Compact partners. With those words, we would now open the floor maybe to one or two questions based on the presentations that were made to the partners. Thank you. We will give over to the Economic Commission for Africa.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the presentation and the engagement. Just wanted to perhaps suggest a few things that can help us in the next formulation of the Compact with Africa to get the most out of it. Of course, I mean, we'll hear from member states, but I think one of the issues that we had in the earlier round is that African countries did their part in terms of doing the reforms, but we have not seen sufficient investments flowing. So going forward, we need to really focus on how we link that to, more investments flowing from the G20 and particularly, from the lead countries. So I think this would be really a very important issue, and perhaps some of the things that we need to have in a way in the engagement framework on the Compact with Africa to see measure the success in terms of how we have been able to build on that to crowd in private sector investments and be able to report on it. This is one. Two, when some of the investments materialized, they were not necessarily in where we hope to create more of. So we'd like to see more of the higher value addition rather than, investments even in the countries that have benefited were more on, the oil or sectors that don't have as much as higher value added that we're hoping moving up the value chain. Another suggestion also for consideration is that there are already existing mechanisms that could be very useful to be utilized within this framework. So I'm referring here, for example, to the European Union Africa Guarantee Fund that was launched. How can we perhaps use such existing guarantee funds and commitment that were made to link with the Compact for Africa to enable this flow of investments? And this is like, we're not creating, existing like additional commitments or additional frameworks. They exist, but can we link it to ensure that such underutilized funds are actually used to make a much bigger impact of the Compact going forward? I think we need to also work, one of the key issues is the need to work on perception and risk perception. We've talked about it in different forums, whether, the Africa risk premium, the perception that there is more risk than, actually exists within the continent. So here we need to use that Compact to actually help in that area. And here I have two concrete suggestions. One is on the returns to investments, rate of return on projects. Africa actually, contrary to the perception, and I think in the in the G20 Africa expert panel, it was one of the areas that the presentation that will be made will showcase that actually returns were quite high by multilateral development banks on projects in sectors that were invested in Africa. On average, even higher than investing in the S&P 500. So can we actually use that Compact to make sure that we get the data to counter that perception and show concrete evidence? And then the other side that this can be used is we have seen, and there are some older studies that have shown that there is a gap of perception between investors that foreign investors that are already in the continent versus prospective ones. So foreign investors that have been in the continent are making actually substantial returns, have been there for years. And if you ask them what they need to invest more, the question is more about perhaps the improved infrastructure, specific things in terms of the business environment. But if you ask prospective ones, it's completely different. What you get is more on the perception of risk, the socio-political stability, or other issues. So if we can actually perhaps capitalize on those that have been investors, and particularly from G20 countries for many years in the continent, to have that dialogue between the incumbent and the prospective investors, I think this can help really bridge the gap. And we need to do more to, kind of align perceptions and realities. The final point I'd like to make is how we can use the Compact for Africa to really, unleash the potential of the regional value chains, so that the benefits and the returns are just not, within one country, but actually can flow within the continent. So I think that also would be great if we can focus on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for for those comments from Dr. Mose. I think that is why South Africa has sort of elevated the compact and also trying to ensure that more G20 countries besides Germany supports the compact so that we can crowd in greater investment into the continent. And that's why we are also trying to deal with the perceived or perceptions in relation to Africa through the work that the Africa Expert Panel is doing and also some of the other work that we've been doing during this year. We would now go to the next session, and we are now going to ask the compact countries to share their experiences. This year, Zambia joined the compact, and we would now like to hear from Zambia what is its experience thus far. Zambia, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good morning to everyone. I hope I can be seen and heard.
Yes, you are, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll be very brief and just to acknowledge honorable ministers, excellencies, and colleagues that are here, as well as the compact partners that have made the various presentations. So I'll just want to perhaps make three crucial points in terms of Zambia. First and foremost, it is a great honor to share experience under the Compact with Africa initiative. When Zambia joined the Compact, we recognized the unique platform to strengthen our reform agenda, to build investor confidence, and to deepen partnerships with the G20 member states as well as our African peers. So we did apply for the compact in 2023, as displayed there. And the motivation really was premised on the fact that we want to undertake economic transformation and job creation agenda that we have in our National Development Plan. And this is being driven mainly by what we term as the growth sectors of agriculture, manufacturing, mining, and tourism. And this is what Zambia is really wants to achieve. Then in terms of the current investment also being enabled by further investment in the energy, transport, and logistics sector, technology, skills, water, and infrastructure, which we term as the enablers of growth, because we believe that you'll not be able to agriculture, mining, manufacturing, and tourism will not be able to do it if we don't have investments in the energy sector, transport and logistics, technology, skills, water, and as well as infrastructure. So to attain this agenda, we are taking a number of reforms, and I want to make three crucial points on the reforms. The first set of reforms is really what I'll term as structural reforms. This is macroeconomic as well as business, finance and business reforms. So maybe we can go to the next slide. So the first issue is that with the compact has provided Zambia with a framework to accelerate structural reforms, and the first structural reforms are the macroeconomic reforms that we're undertaking. These include issues which are underpinned by debt restructuring, prudent fiscal policy, and strengthened public finance management. So these measures mainly are aimed to improve transparency, restore policy credibility, and lay a foundation for sustained growth. So far we've established the Debt Management Office. We've enacted a new law, which is the Public Debt Management Act, which ensures that we do not go back to unsustainable debt as a country. We now involve Parliament in the how much we borrow through the annual borrowing plan, which we produce and publish, and also enhance transparency through the debt status quo bulletin. We can go to the next slide. The next slide really, again, is about restoring macroeconomic stability and some of the issues that are put there. The public investment management, ensuring that we mobilize more resources. We just announced our budget 2 weeks ago, and within that budget, we're trying to mobilize 0.5% additional resources into the budget to take us to about 22.3% of GDP. There are also reforms in the agriculture sector that we're undertaking. Now we can go to the next slide. Still, on the next slide is really the financing framework reforms, and quite a number of reforms are also taking place as a result of the compact in terms of enhanced fiscal sustainability and public sector financing, improved public procurement, strengthen disaster risk management and financing, as well as enhancing governance and rule of law, as well as accelerate energy reforms. Maybe we can go to the next slide. I think we can go to the next slide, the PPP law and others. So this again, the third point which I want to make, the first ones I've made is just really on the structural reforms. The third one is really on the business framework reform. I think the compact is helping us to catalyze partnerships with international institutions and the G20. And this is really trying to help us really advance the climate investment reform. So we've simplified business licensing procedures, we've strengthened the rule of law in commercial matters, enhanced procurement transparency. Notably, the reforms in the energy and agriculture sectors have also been guided by compact principles and opening opportunities for private sector participation in renewable energy, agriculture, as well as infrastructure. Can go to the next slide. Next slide again. So I think one other point which I just want to make is that through blended financing and targeted technical assistance, Zambia has been able to leverage on private capital for key sectors. So our engagement has also created space for dialogue on long-term development issues such as climate resilience, digital transformation, and economic trade. So just in conclusion, I think is that really the compact with Africa has been instrumental in the Zambian reform agenda. It has provided us with a platform for dialogue, to a lever for reform and a bridge to private investment. So we're committed to sustaining this momentum and sharing lessons with fellow African countries and the G20, so that together we can achieve a vision of prosperity, resilience, and an inclusive Africa. I submit, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Zambia, for outlining, the process and the reforms that are being undertaken. We have Egypt on the online to also share briefly its experience. Egypt, can you come?
Yes, hello, Marlon. Hello, everyone. I apologize, my camera is unfortunately not working, but I'm very honored and delighted to be participating in this very important session. Compact with Africa has been a cornerstone of the G20's contribution, collaboration, and cooperation with the African continent. And I think we've seen throughout the years the very positive and encouraging results on various macroeconomic indicators of the African economies that are participating in Compact with Africa. I don't want to dwell too much on. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Allah, you're back on.
Yes, sure. So I was talking that Compact with Africa is an important cornerstone of the G20, of the G20's collaboration and cooperation with the African continent. And across the various years that we've seen the Compact with Africa being active in the African economies, we've seen a lot of development on the macroeconomic front and on several structural areas of the economies. In the case of Egypt, I'm not going to dwell too much on the macroeconomic development, but more on the experience itself that we had with Compact with Africa. I think the main positive tool that the Compact has given African economies is the peer-to-peer learning and the peer-to-peer sessions that we've had to understand how economic policies are being shaped in our respective countries and how we're pushing forward with our individual structural agenda. In the case of Egypt, I think one of the most important experiences was the dialogue that we had with our Tunisian colleagues at the Ministry of Finance and setting up a fund that pushes all development partners to have a bird's eye view on all the structural efforts and reforms that are happening and are taking place in the country, and the funding that's going towards these activities. And I think this was an eye-opening experience for us, because with Egypt, where we have a lot of structural reforms and structural measures that are being conducted with various development partners, whether from the IMF, from the World Bank, or from other institutional partners. And I think it gave us an idea on how to streamline all these efforts, streamline all the measures that we want to include in our reform program, and really push forward with the private sector and how they can contribute to that. And I think we've seen a very positive outcome from this peer-to-peer cooperation. For fiscal year 24-25, for example, we've seen private investments grow in the economy on average 78% year over year. And now they comprise about 60% of total investments. And this is coming just from the fact that we've opened up a dialogue with the private sector. We were able to push forward with our reform program and introduce structural measures that really enhance the competitiveness of our economy, that enhanced the competitive neutrality, and just gave more room for confidence and trust to grow between the government and the private sector. And we've seen this reflect on our fiscal numbers as well. Our tax revenues grew by 35%. We've added 0.5% of GDP to our tax base. We were able to attract some of the SMEs and entrepreneurs from the informal sector into the formal sector. We're seeing our FDIs grow constantly by an average of 11 to 12% year over year. We're at $11 billion every year in various sectors, whether it's in renewable energies, in construction, in manufacturing. All of this just because we were open and transparent with our reform program and our induction in the Compact with Africa. I think Egypt is one of the top FDI recipients in the African continent, as a Compact with Africa economy. And all of this is just because of maintaining this dialogue and being very transparent with the international community and with the private sector. And I think the Compact has a lot of potential in including more African economies, just as it was mentioned earlier by the German co-chair. The Compact with Africa is not just for Compact countries, but it's open for all African economies. And I think we can leverage this in saying that the African continent has a lot of potential. We're pushing forward with our structural reforms on a country perspective. And we're doing a lot of the reforms and a lot of the measures that will really put our economies on a global scale and on a global competitiveness that really is conducive to inclusive and sustainable growth. And the most important thing, again, and I really can't emphasize more on it, is the cooperation between the countries and the peer-to-peer learning. This is, I think, the most important tool that we have in the Compact initiative, whether it's between Compact countries or Compact and non-Compact countries. And I think I'll just stop at here. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Allah, for outlining the Egyptian experience and also the benefits that have accrued through being a membership of the Compact with Africa. We'll now call on Togo to make its intervention.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Honorables invités, Mesdames et Messieurs, c'est avec vraiment un grand plaisir que je prends la parole pour partager donc l'expérience du Togo dans le cadre donc de son adhésion au Compact du G20. Cette initiative représente pour notre pays un catalyseur stratégique de mobilisation des investissements privés. Le Togo, en rejoignant ce cadre, a fait le choix résolu d'accélérer ses réformes structurelles, de renforcer son attractivité et d'orienter son développement vers une croissance inclusive et durable. Mesdames et Messieurs, le Togo a adhéré donc au Compact sous le leadership de Son Excellence M. Faure Essoziuna Gnassingbé, président du Conseil de la République togolaise. Dès son adhésion en 2018, le Togo a inscrit sa participation au Compact dans la continuité de sa vision et de sa feuille de route gouvernementale 2020-2025, qui vise à faire de notre pays un hub logistique et un centre des services financiers de référence. Dans ce cadre, le Togo a bénéficié d'un appui technique des partenaires tels que la Banque mondiale, le FMI, la Banque africaine de développement, dans le cadre donc de la mise en œuvre des réformes pour consolider donc son cadre macroéconomique, renforcer son système financier et améliorer le climat des affaires. Tout ceci s'est traduit par l'adoption d'un cadre juridique moderne pour les partenariats publics-privés, la digitalisation des services publics fiscaux et douaniers, améliorant ainsi la transparence et réduisant le coût des transactions, l'adoption d'un nouveau cadre juridique relatif aux émissions de garanties pour une meilleure gestion des garanties et des prêts rétrocédés, un renforcement des organes de contrôle de l'Office togolais des recettes. L'adoption d'une nouvelle politique fiscale ayant permis l'élargissement de l'assiette fiscale et la dématérialisation du processus de collecte des impôts. La mise en œuvre de toutes ces réformes a permis d'accroître les recettes publiques de manière soutenable avec un taux de pression 14,5% du PIB en 2023, 14,4% en 2024 et 15,5% en 2025. Cela a permis également d'avoir une stabilité macroéconomique affirmée, illustrée par une croissance de 6,2% en 2023 et 6,5% en 2024, avec une projection de 7% en 2025, malgré un contexte international marqué par de multiples chocs. De 2016 à 2025, le Togo est passé d'un déficit budgétaire de 7,1% à 3% du PIB, malgré les chocs liés à la pandémie et aux catastrophes naturelles, et vise, avec l'appui du FMI, à ramener la dette publique sous 55% du PIB d'ici 2025. En matière d'investissement, le Togo a enregistré une progression notable. Les flux d'investissement directs étrangers ont cru pour atteindre environ 200 millions de dollars en 2023, soit une amélioration par rapport à la période antérieure. Les secteurs porteurs tels que la logistique portuaire, l'énergie, les télécommunications et l'agro-industrie ont particulièrement bénéficié de l'attention des investisseurs. Ceci grâce à la création de l'Agence de promotion des investissements, au renforcement du dispositif de création d'entreprises permettant de créer une entreprise au Togo en moins de 24 heures, une modernisation du secteur de la justice pour améliorer la protection des investisseurs, le règlement des différends et le renforcement de la lutte contre la corruption. Mesdames et messieurs, 3 leçons majeures se dégagent de notre participation donc au Compact. Premièrement, l'importance de la stabilité macroéconomique comme socle de crédibilité. Les efforts de consolidation budgétaire et de gestion prudente de la dette publique ont renforcé la confiance des investisseurs et permis au Togo de se financer à des conditions plus favorables. Deuxièmement, la centralité des réformes structurelles. Les améliorations du climat des affaires matérialisées par les avancées dans le classement Doing Business et reprises par le BREDI, confirmées par l'intérêt croissant des investisseurs, montrent que la clarté et la prévisibilité réglementaire sont essentielles pour attirer les capitaux privés. Enfin, la nécessité d'une inclusion forte du secteur privé national. Si le Compact a permis de mobiliser des financements extérieurs, il a également mis en lumière la faiblesse de l'investissement domestique, qui reste en deçà de 12% du PIB. L'une des grandes leçons pour le Togo est donc la mise en place de mécanismes incitatifs, fiscaux et financiers pour dynamiser l'investissement local, en particulier celui des PME et des jeunes entrepreneurs. Mesdames et messieurs, à l'heure où le compact entre dans sa phase 2, le Togo entend consolider ses acquis et élargir son champ d'action. 3 axes prioritaires guideront notre engagement. D'abord, la transformation structurelle. Renforcer les chaînes de valeur dans l'agro-industrie, l'énergie renouvelable et numérique, afin de diversifier davantage l'économie et créer des emplois massifs pour la jeunesse. Ensuite, la finance durable. Mobiliser des financements verts et climatiques dans le cadre des opportunités offertes par l'accord de Paris et par la ZLECAf, afin de positionner le Togo comme un acteur clé dans la transition énergétique et économique et écologique régionale. Enfin, l'intégration régionale, tirer profit des dispositions de la zone de libre-échange continentale africaine pour accroître nos exportations intra-africaines, renforcer notre résilience face aux chocs externes et élargir notre marché domestique. Nous restons convaincus que le compact, à travers ses piliers, stabilité macroéconomique, climat des affaires, développement du secteur financier, demeure une plateforme stratégique pour attirer les capitaux privés et accélérer la transformation de notre pays. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Minister. We have now heard valuable perspectives from Compact member countries. These contributions are essential as we look ahead to the second phase of the Compact with Africa initiative. These insights will help shape how we can enhance the effectiveness and relevance of the Compact, ensuring that it is better aligned with the evolving needs and priorities of Compact countries. We shared the Compact with Africa admission procedure for the delegates that may be interested in joining the initiative. Historically, the Compact with Africa initiative did not have a formal admission procedure. The reason for formalization of the admission procedure ensures that there is a standardized framework for potential new members seeking to join the initiative. We would like to recognize and thank the IMF for assisting us with finalizing this essential output. Excellencies, we have come to the end of the session. Before I hand to the State Secretary and our Minister for their closing remarks, I would like to thank all the participants and the attendees to this meeting. I now hand over to the State Secretary to make closing remarks.
We had this morning, I think all the contributions have clearly highlighted both the significant progress achieved and also the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead. Our exchange today, I think, provides us a very valuable guidance and ensures that our efforts remain clearly focused, impactful, and also results orientated. In this context, we will soon convene an African advisory group meeting, which is the political steering body of the Compact within the G20, to discuss key topics also addressed this morning. And we will also be looking forward to the G20 summit heads of state and government in Johannesburg in late November. Allow me to briefly conclude by expressing again my sincere thanks for the progress made under South Africa's successful G20 presidency. Your leadership has been instrumental in elevating African policy issues in order to achieve more growth, jobs, and opportunities. You have also put the G20 Compact with Africa prominently on the international agenda and advanced its objectives. Germany will continue to support South Africa throughout the remainder of its G20 presidency to ensure the initiative's ongoing success. And looking ahead, we will also actively advocate for strong support for the compact under the upcoming G20 presidencies, as continuous political backing across presidencies is crucial to sustain momentum. In practical terms, this means encouraging the active engagement of all G20 members and also ensuring tangible benefits for African countries. And it means closer collaboration with and within African partner countries. So let's stay in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Over to our Minister.
Excellencies, colleagues and partners, we've got a good relationship with Neil, my neighbor, who is chairing the next session. I don't want to spoil that relationship with another long speech. The only thing I can say, thank you once again for your participation. We look forward to working with you, all of you, in ensuring that the Compact with Africa continues to deliver meaningful impact in the years to come. I thank you. I don't want my neighbor to remain, our relationship to remain cordial. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much for that complex discussion. Really do appreciate it, and those that chaired it and that spoke through it. What we'll do now is we are running slightly over time, everyone, so we'll take a 10-minute comfort break now. So if we can please come back at 20 past sharp, we'll start our main session at 20 past 10. So if we can all, let's take a quick comfort break at 20 past 10 as we back here, and let's start the main session. Thank you.
Recording stopped.